Hey Rotary Swing golfers, this is RST instructor Chris Tyler. Thanks for checking in with this week's tour analysis. This week we're going to be focusing in on a great way to prioritize your load and your rotation in your golf swing very early on so that you can have proper downswing sequencing, just like Jimmy Walker, who's averaging more than 300 yards with his driver right now. So if you've been lacking a little bit of power and you're looking for a better solution to be able to load that golf swing up, then you want to pay close attention to this review. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so those of you that are joining us on our YouTube channel, and before I get started with today's breakdown on Jimmy Walker's golf swing and how to put more power in your swing, I'm going to include a preview of a premium video that we have at RotarySwing.com done by founder Chuck Quinton. This is a great video that teaches you how to load up your golf swing properly. And I'm also, at the end of that video, I'm going to give you a chance to sign up for a free membership where you have access to a lot of videos on our website. And if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please feel free to post those up and I'll help you out as best I can. Okay guys, so as I said in the opener here, we have Jimmy Walker, who just won at the Valero Texas Open this past weekend, so congratulations to Jimmy. If we've been searching for a better way to put more power and more consistency in your golf swing, you want to pay really close attention to these two key moves that we're going to be focusing on this week. And it really kind of helps set a tone of positive chain reactions of events in the golf swing. So if you've been struggling with downswing sequencing, or if you've been struggling with having some really weak power in the move, then pay really close attention to some things here that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to draw this line straight up from the trail ankle here. All right, if you haven't seen this before, we have a video on the website called the right hip line. Now, you'll notice that we tend to set up with a much wider base here when we have a driver. And we do have a video on the site called Driver Setup Adjustments. And a lot of these modern day drivers are really geared towards high launch with very low spin. So we do make some adjustments to stance width, ball positions adjusted as well. But more importantly, what we've got to do is we've got to be able to set things off on the right tone while we start the golf swing. So if you pay close attention to this right hip line here, you can see a good amount of space between the right thigh and this line. And when he goes ahead and starts his move here, you're going to see a shift over into that side. So you see him starting to shift his hips. Now what he's doing there is he's shifting his weight to load up that trail side glute. And that's really, really important for you guys at home, because if you don't shift enough, chances are you can run into a reverse pivot sort of sense at the top of the swing, and then in turn you're more apt to use your upper body to start the downward move. So what we're trying to achieve for a properly sequenced downswing is we want the lower body to go first. And if we start to get some contraction in those muscle groups first, muscle groups don't want to stay contracted for all that long. So if you get the tone set off by really starting to load those up first, then they're going to want to fire first. So we're making a small shift over to that side. We're pushing that right heel into the ground. That's a good tip for you guys at home that have been really kind of struggling with stability, is push your right heel or ankle into the ground and really try to feel like you're creating a post in that trail leg to rotate around. That'll help maintain a lot of separation between the hip line and shoulder line. It'll help get you to have the proper muscles fire, and you'll have a much more stable lower body as you work into the top of your backswing. So you're going to see here as we work up to the top, the only thing that moves away from the right hip line would be the right hip, because we are looking at this from a two-dimensional space and the hip is rotating. But Jimmy's done a great job here at the top of the swing. He's got maybe 30, 35 degrees of rotation from the hips. You can see he's made a giant shoulder turn here, well past 90 degrees. And if he were to allow his hips to become unstable where he hadn't shifted enough weight over here, then in turn he could run the risk of getting his spine to over-rotate and lean more towards the target. But you can see that he's done a great job of maintaining axis tilt up here. And now he's set his golf swing up to be sequenced properly. So you'll see in the downward move here, you're going to see a big giant shift of these hips. So we start out with a small shift right, things are loaded up. And then because that was the first muscle group that we started to get a lot of contraction in, then we're going to go ahead and start to fire there first, back over the lead side. And he's starting to get himself into a position to where he can start to post up and let the club go. So if you've been struggling, like I said, with either a reverse pivot or lacking some power, or really in your downswing sequencing where you've been feeling like you've been using too much of your upper body, then really focus on loading up that trail side. We got some good videos on the website. We got load up the right leg for stability. These videos are going to be over in the recommended videos to the right of the video player. the importance of axis tilt, and 5 minutes to master rotation. Those are great videos, and this is because we're starting to get back into golf season now. A lot of us that have been in the colder climates, we want to make sure that we can have that load to the right side with proper weight shift, and then proper rotation is going to really help a lot of other areas further on in the golf swing, and you'll be well on your way to having much more power and more consistency. All right, guys, so let's check out those videos, and let's get out there and play some great golf this season. I wish you all the best. Now make it a great day.
An interesting question was posed on the forum recently about what's the purpose of loading the right glute if you're not going to push off the right leg in the downswing? Very good question. Has a simple answer, as most things in the golf swing do. First off, let's understand why you don't want to push off the right glute. And that answer is also very simple. If you think back to the 60s and 70s, there became a pretty strong movement in the golf instruction world of driving off this right leg, and then you saw everybody finish like this with this classic reverse C, which has really formed the basis for a lot of modern golf instruction. Nicklaus did it, Watson did it, Miller did it, Weiskopf did it. All these guys used to have this very stylized finish, but also all of them eventually had their hips replaced. So if you don't want to go the route of having your hip replaced once or twice during your golfing career, there's got to be a better way, and of course there is. Your hip is not designed to take a tremendous amount of stress in this position in the golf swing. When done correctly, or even incorrectly, when you're swinging fast, puts a lot of stress on the body. It just does. It's not something that, versus laying on the couch, you're putting a lot of stress on your body. There's just a lot of force that happens in the swing. So to hit the ball a long ways and to do it so safely and powerfully, we have to understand how the body's designed to move in those positions and still produce a sound golf swing. And so the reason you don't push off the right side is because that's exactly what creates that motion of the reverse C.